Does anyone else own merch from a dead ship and it just sits in your room collecting dust? That's me with my Net James magazines. I like to think I'm a rational person, but every time I look at old photos of Net and James together, I get sad. It's not so much a shipping thing, but rather a disappointment over wasted potential. Well, that and the fact that being a James defender is a full-time job with no benefits. But anyways, I want to ask you guys, have you ever felt genuinely upset over the breakup of a BL pairing? Be honest with me, I won't judge you. If you're someone who engages in fandom, then you've probably experienced your fair share of endings. In 2021, we had Mew Golf, in 2023, we had Omnanon, and just last year, in 2025, Great and N were officially added to the list of sunken ships. Sometimes it feels like Thai BL is nothing but an abandoned shipyard full of lost treasure. Once upon a time, these ships rode gallantly over waves of popularity, and now they lie in quiet decay, forever docked in the archives of BL history. Hi, it's Kayla, by the way. Today I want to have a casual conversation about BL ships and how fans react to ship breakups. Why do we get so invested in these fake couples? And how do we keep our parasocial relationships in check? These are just some of the questions we'll attempt to answer in this video. I want to preface this conversation with a warning. The fun police are not welcome around these parts. It's one thing to call out inappropriate fan behavior. It's another thing to judge others for following a BL ship or engaging with fan service. You know when we were in grade school and one person would ruin something for the entire class? Yeah, I'm not letting that happen. This topic was inspired by the sudden, or not so sudden, Great In divorce. So let's talk a little about that first. On September 19th, 2025, GMMTV released a statement in which they said that Great and N have mutually agreed to conclude their work as a pair. It's something that fans had been expecting for a while, so it didn't necessarily come as a surprise. Leading up to this statement, there was some criticism from fans about Great and N's mascot, Angelo. If you don't know, every GMMTV pairing has their own mascot, and there's a ton of merchandise available for each one. In the case of Great N's mascot, there was a period of time where Angelo merch was not being restocked despite overwhelming demand. In addition, Angelo was the only mascot who didn't have a human version, meaning they never created a life-size mascot for the character. This was a major sore spot for Great N fans because every other pairing had life-size mascots that would occasionally join the actors at events. Looking back, we can assume that GMMTV's lack of investment in Angelo had to do with the looming knowledge that Great In would be ending soon. In the wake of their breakup, some fans accused GMMTV of mismanaging the Great In pairing up to this point, which is a common reaction whenever a pairing announces their split. I will say, I do believe this has been the case for a select few, but I don't believe it's as commonplace as people think. People tend to believe that if a pairing receives adequate promotion, then they won't have a reason to separate. However, that doesn't take the actor's personal wants and aspirations into account. Sometimes these actors just want to move on with their lives, and Great and N are yet another example of that. In general, I would say the majority of Great In fans were disappointed but understanding when it came to the split. N's business ventures were brought up as a contributing factor. After all, the man is a legit business mogul, owning multiple companies, including the holiday pastry franchise, which I highly recommend visiting if you're ever in Bangkok. While In has received some backlash from a select group of fans, there hasn't been much outrage from the general fan base over him, quote, causing the split. This is another common reaction when a pairing stops working together. We saw this most notably with Net James and even Smart Boom to some degree. Oftentimes, these breakups will cause a rift in the fandom, and unfortunately, one of the actors in the pairing will take the brunt of the blame. Mew Golf fans are an interesting example when it comes to fandom division, mostly because they still badger Mew to this day, despite the fact that he is engaged to another man. There are whole subreddits breaking down the history of Mew Golf's alleged beef, which is odd to me because I lived through their split and it wasn't nearly as dramatic as people are recalling. That's a common theme I've noticed. People rewriting history. It's almost as if they want there to be an explosive fight between the actors. Things get very conspiratorial. In my non-professional opinion, This is a coping mechanism that's caused by the denial that something has come to an end. Pinning the blame on someone is a natural progression from this. In the case of Mew Golf, it was Mew who shouldered the blame for their split. There's a popular narrative that he abandoned Golf after using him to gain popularity. There was gossip about a serious falling out between them, also caused by Mew. Some fans even believe that Mew and Golf were a real couple, which Mew has debunked on multiple occasions, calling their former ship fan service. In summary, the reason for their split is unknown, but it's probably not as salacious as some fans would assume. I personally believe that half of the fandom turned against Mew because 1, he has always been vocal about his grievances, and 2, he did have a messy breakup with his other former ship partner, Art. On a lighter note, when Mew and his fiancée Tool proposed to each other, Golf congratulated them. Now, Nanon fans are truly fascinating because I don't know what their motivation is. Maybe I need to do some boots on the ground journalism to figure out why there are still diehard Nanon shippers in the Big 26. Shockingly, I've never uttered a word about their split on this channel. I did like their series Bad Buddy, but I was just so far removed from the shipping aspect that I never felt the need to comment. Their breakup is infamous for causing some of the worst fan reactions we've ever seen in Thai BL. The big incident you're probably familiar with is when a subset of Chinese fans sent these protest trucks to sit in front of the GMMTV building. People really clown on this now, but at the time, it was a serious offense. Imagine you're walking into work one day and the street outside your office is lined with trucks demanding that you and your coworker kiss each other on screen for all eternity. I would crash out. Another incident I recall is when these fans wore masks of Ohm's face to Nanon's Born to Biao concert. This type of behavior requires a certain level of disrespect that I will never be able to comprehend, and it's no coincidence that they chose to cover their faces during the photo session, because who wouldn't feel ashamed to be photographed doing this? It's like a self-inflicted humiliation ritual. In my opinion, it's fans like these who have done irreparable damage to Ohm and Nanon's friendship. And I don't think that friendship can ever be fully salvaged because some of their fans are still going at it to this day. The fact that Ohm and Nanon had one series together back in 2021 and people are still actively harassing them and their inner circle is mind-numbing. Honestly, their impact. A related fan reaction that I always find frustrating is the fact that some people think two actors ending their ship automatically means they're not friends anymore. This is such a prevalent issue when it comes to James, Net, and JJ. I don't know why it's so hard for people to believe these actors can remain friends once they stop working together, especially if they were friends before they became a ship. I suppose it goes back to that notion of there being a big dramatic fight that causes the split. Additionally, some fans will push the false narrative that an actor's old partner hates their new partner and vice versa. Like, come on. Wait until you guys find out that James also loves JJ. I find it sad that we don't see former ship partners interact more, but I understand why the companies would urge against it. They're well aware of the negative response it would elicit from those toxic fans. I'm sure you guys can think of many instances where two actors are no longer allowed to publicly interact with each other. It happens fairly often. When it comes to BL ship breakups, I feel like there's an elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. Have you ever noticed that when a BL ship stops working together, 95% of the time, the actor who was considered the bottom is the one who gets attacked? Without fail, it's the gay one who is somehow at fault. I'm putting gay in quotations, by the way, because it's all based on the fans' assumptions. Take Supernut, for example. On January 20th, 2026, Change announced the end of the Pingnut ship, and some fans were quick to blame Nut. They accused him of never caring about his pairing and ignoring Ping at various events, including his birthday. It's a very parasocial presumption, which we'll actually touch on later. Personally, I'm convinced there's been a homophobic hate campaign going on against Nut for a while now, but that's a topic for another video. Forgive me for referencing my video about femphobia again, but I truly believe the hate that some of these actors receive upon their ship breakup is anti-LGBTQ plus coded. Even if some actors don't identify as gay, the image of them that's been created through the dynamic of the ship is hugely influential on the way they're perceived by the public. Getting invested in a BL ship does not always result in delusion. For the majority of people, it's a simple interest in the chemistry between two actors. There's no harm in sharing photos of your favorite ships and fanning out over little displays of affection. Fan service is not a new concept, and while some people hate it, I'll be the first to admit, I'm a sucker for that shit. Everyone has their own reasons for falling headfirst into a ship. Some people are hopeless romantics who live vicariously through a ship of their choice. Some people start off as a fan of one actor in a ship, and eventually they warm up to their acting partner. Some people get hooked on the characters in a specific series, and it snowballs into them shipping the two actors together. There are so many ways to fall down the rabbit hole, and most are unpredictable. I've had moments where I glance around my room, looking at the 10 different Xenonu posters on my walls, and I ask myself, how did I get so invested? Is it the autistic need to hyperfixate? Is it the trad yaoi aesthetic? Or is it the comfort their series gave me when I so needed it? The answer is all the above. Now let me be the first to tell you, relying on celebrities for comfort is a dangerous game. Trust me. The same thing that brightens your world can darken it. People don't plan to become invested in a particular musician, artist, or actor. It just happens. And so that's why I gave the disclaimer at the start of this video. Being a fan of someone can be such a fulfilling experience. The friends that fandom connects you with are lifelong. The places that fandom can take you are boundless. It's all about community, which is something we absolutely need in times of unrest, whether it's on a personal or political scale. Unfortunately, the toxic side of a fandom always manages to find new ways to ruin things for everyone else. You have these people with no social etiquette and certainly no media literacy, acting foolish online and making us all look like insane shippers. Fan service presents valid concerns, especially when the actors feel pressured to adhere to what the fans and the sponsors want. But is it all bad? If so, it doesn't have to be. I understand the urge to defend, to get your feelings hurt. When you invest all your time and money into a ship, it's hard to not take things personally. However, you can't be entirely reliant on one thing for comfort, happiness, or the casual passing of time. You have to be good on your own. So while I do think being upset or disappointed over the breakup of a BL ship is a normal, justified reaction, it shouldn't drive you to the point of sending hate to the actors, their co-workers, or your fellow fans. That's where it gets dicey. That's what causes the anti-fan service discourse. We have to be able to criticize these systems without alienating the people who are simply trying to survive within them. We also have to accept that most of these ship breakups are done on amicable terms. It's a mutual decision between the actors, and we don't get to tell them how to go about their lives or careers. So how do you keep a horde of parasocial fans at bay? Honestly, I think the answer is legal action. Recently, laws around defamation have gotten stronger in Thailand, and that's led to more companies threatening legal action against fans who harass actors online. Much of the harassment we see is caused by fan wars over engagement for shows and ships. So I think we might see these companies being more heavy-handed when it comes to protecting their artists. That's the only way these toxic fans are going to realize their actions have consequences. As for how you can keep your parasocial relationships in check, that's something we all have to figure out on our own. For me, my work with Lovecast has shown me that these BL actors are just some guys, and that's practically eliminated my starry-eyed parasocial view of everyone. The key word here is practically. And I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I have so many interests that it kind of deters me from focusing on anything long enough to become parasocial. Maybe the secret is to just overstimulate yourself until your brain stops functioning. Take note, this is not medical advice. I'm not sure how to end this video or really what the main takeaway is. I just wanted to explore the different ways in which fans react to ship breakups and talk a little about being a fan of a BL ship. I wish we could engage in a conversation about the fun, lighthearted aspects of following a BL ship without it turning into a dissertation about fan service. Sometimes being overly analytical feels like a curse that I can't get away from. Lately, I've just wanted to quell the doom and gloom of the world with cute ship videos. I don't think that's a crime. In general, I think the idea of being a fangirl, in gender neutral terms of course, is so looked down upon for misogynistic reasons. Anything that's perceived as being for women gets shitted on, even if it's gender inclusive. That being said, let's respect each other's interests, and more importantly, let's log off once in a while. Thank you to the moon and back for watching. I yearn for a peaceful fan experience, and for that reason, I prefer to stay in my personalized BL bubble. What does your bubble look like? Do you engage with ships and fan service, or do you observe the chaos from afar? Both lifestyles are so valid. This is one of the 2 videos I said I was having trouble with, so hooray for finally getting it out of the queue. I also want to thank the TT Poor fans who informed me about the author's role in the naming situation. That added some interesting context, so I'm very appreciative. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye!